This is not going to be CAMRA certified, capital CAMRA. You know what I mean? For the preservation of cask ale, real ale, and tweed jackets with elbow patches. I'll tell you this. I know I have some loyal listeners and followers in the UK. And here's the deal. Step one, I get out there. I get off the plane. You pick me up. We immediately go out and get me a jacket, tweed jacket, elbow patches. Okay? I just hope you're ready to be, to watch a grown man out there crushing it in that tweed coat. Okay? When you combine this gross accent with that amazing jacket, get out of here, dude. So my advice on this is not CAMRA approved. But, making cask beer is a cool way to serve beer, interesting way to serve beer. It is a interesting way to be able to do a specialty beer. So you have a main ferment, you have one of your standard ferments going on. It's a way that you can cut something off to have like a special tap release. I think it used to be a little bit more prevalent. Maybe it's coming back, who knows? But we're going to dig in on this. I had Brandon on Instagram, a great way to send me questions, by the way. He sent me a reel of a brewer making a cask beer, and he wanted my take on it. Now, I didn't have like any huge issues with what I saw, but I do think it's worth a deep dive. Lewis is in the chat right now. UK listener. Are you a home brewer or a pro brewer? Yeah, and I need to get out there, Lewis. You know what I mean? Back to, would it be the motherland? I mean, ultimately, this is, we're connected, man. You know what I mean? I need to get over there and we can do beer stuff. But we're going to do a little dip into cask beer right now. Oh, Fresh Country had another question. Oh, I'll get to that too. We'll do this after Fresh Country. Great question. I think I haven't read it yet. Cask beer. So just some high-level points on cask beer. Well, you want to be picking a base beer that makes sense, right? So again, put your, culinary hat on and think about things that would be, and this is just from a, making a tasty beer standpoint. Try to be putting things together. If you are doing an adjunct approach with this, think of things that are tasty and work well together. In general, these beers are going to be lower ABV, all right, and not super hopped. But that's just some of the traditional stuff. A lot of times people use this technique to make adjunct versions of things. It's going to be very important to make sure that your beer has not been filtered or pasteurized. So you are still going to want to have some yeast in solution. So you're not going to want a completely bright beer that's in the bright tank for something like this. If you do want to be, I just kicked my camera. If you do want to be having a re-fermentation in the cask, all right? It's going to be really important to be using a density meter to be checking the beer's gravity. And what we're going to talk about today is we're going to be talking about through the lens of not putting a live beer in there, meaning a beer that's still actively fermenting, but putting a beer in that's fully fermented and then adding some sugar back to it. So you are going to want to make sure for this instance that you have a beer at terminal. And again, CAMRA nerds, don't come at me if you don't like the way I'm suggesting do it. This is just one way, baby. Okay? This is just one way. Yes. Make sure the beer is fully crashed, fully done with everything. Also, I would also try to be aware of the amount of CO2 that is already in that beer, because you might not need as much sugar. So, when you add things to this cask, traditionally you would be adding something like isinglass or a fining agent to it. You don't need to. You could just let it settle naturally. You can be adding dry hops or other spices. Sometimes you can bag those things up and put them in there. You're going to be adding a priming sugar of some sort, dextrose, malt extract, potentially even wort. But you're going to want to consult a calculator that will take into account how much gas is in the beer that you're putting in there, and everything like that. And then you can use your preferred sugar source, keeping in mind that you don't want this thing like super sparkly coming out of that, right? As far as the cask itself, one difference with what I saw in the video, he took a clean and sanitized cask, which is great. But I do think it's really important to make sure that that cask has received an appropriate cleaning regimen with caustic, potentially even acid, and then a no-rinse sanitizer. You're obviously going to want to examine it to make sure that, you know, it has its integrity and everything. And, you know, it has that, I believe it's the key bung. That's the one you would hammer the thing into, the spigot, the tap into. Obviously that in place. I always make sure that I clean those things too. So clean and sanitize those when I put those in. One thing that I would differ from the video was when he purged the cask, he took the CO2 source right here at the end of the pen of the CO2 source and just sat it like in the top of, like right on the top lip of the cask, and just kind of blew gas into it. I'm always one that I like to take a length of flexible tubing that I can clean and sanitize, both the inside and outside of it, and drop it all the way into the bottom of that vessel. And then with a slow purge, do it like that. I feel as if you maybe stand a better chance rather than just mixing atmosphere and CO2. Maybe I can get a more complete purge there. There will be some re-fermentation in here still, but I don't think it hurts to do a nice purge like that. You can add any of your findings, priming sugar, and or dry hops before you fill this, using obviously a sanitized filling rig to go in there. Fill the cask almost to the top, leaving minimal headspace, and then hammer that bung in. Again, something that is clean and been sanitized. And then give that, you know, a couple weeks. You can liquefy that, whatever that sugar source is, if you want to, but just make sure you're using your calculator appropriately as you do that stuff. And then you're going to want to store it on the warmer side. I'm fine with room temp, you know, sometimes a little bit cooler, but get that carb up in it and then get it into your cooler, because that will give it a chance to settle. And then if you can, get it into serving position well before you're going to start serving it. Okay. Typically they are served warmer, you know, around maybe 55 degrees F. And I could make up a Celsius number right here, but I'm going to say 14 to 15 C. Does that get me in the mid 50s range? I'm guessing. But yeah, and then, you know, tapping and serving and stuff. But really, we're focused on that prep of the cask portion of it. That would be my recommendation on how to handle that. Again, just making sure everything is clean and sanitized. I would purge from the bottom personally, with something that I can clean and sanitize both the interior and exterior of. And yeah, and then just be careful. Make sure you still have yeast solution in your base beer. Give it a nice place to re-ferment, and then get it cold once you have it there. So anyways, that's my take on it, Brandon. I appreciate the question.